Hey everybody, Mark Edward Lewis here with Cinema Sound. Today we're going to be looking at one of the most important things we can do with our final outputs and stems, and that's merging reels, and we're going to do it in Adobe Audition. It's a bit complicated, but if you stick with me, you'll figure it out and be able to do it for yourselves. Let's roll. All right, we're here in Adobe Audition, and if you've never worked with Adobe Audition, I invite you to come to our website, Cinema Sound, and take a look at our Adobe Audition 1, 2, 3 streaming education. It'll take you from I've never booted it before, I don't know anything about it, all the way to being able to deliver the kind of masters we're going to be dealing with today. So I've already created a 5-1 session, and you'll want to create a 5-1 session to be able to merge your reels if you've exported it in 5-1. If you're doing it in stereo only, then you would obviously want a stereo session. And we know it's a 5-1 session because in the mixer, we can see here that there are 6 channels on that master output. Let's see. You can also see that each one of these channels also has one of those special little surround sound pucks. But we don't want to keep any of these stereo channels, so we're going to get rid of them. I'm just holding down Command or Control Option Delete. So now I have only the video, which is here, and the master that came off the video, just as a sync reference. We always want to keep leader in the front, and in my case, I like 10 seconds worth of leader. So what we need to do is change, first of all, move these to 10 seconds. That's that. I've got snapping on. That's this little, what is it, a magnet looking thing. And we're going to do the same thing here. So we can drop it right to 10 seconds there, sort of. So that if we tell this to go 10 seconds, there's another way you can do this. You can snap this right to the playlist marker, and you see I didn't quite get it right, so we're going to snap it just there, which is no problem. But now it says 0010 00, and in film, you know, we never want to be at 0 hours. We want to be at 1 hour at the top. And this movie has no 2 pops or anything like that. Sometimes, you know, they'll give you a movie that has no sync reference. So it starts right at 1 hour, which is how our mix is started. So what we're going to do is go to Properties. And under Properties, we want to make sure that we're on the session. And this tells us where's your clip start time, clip end, clip all that. But we don't want the clip, we want the actual session. And we do that by clicking off one of the clips. We want this start time to be 10 seconds before the beginning, which means it's 00:59 minutes, 50 seconds, and 00 frames. And now if you look here, you can see that we're starting right at 1 hour. Same with this here. And that's a really, really nice way to go. Now, we also want to be able to have markers. So we're just going to say markers. We're going to add, and for me in my session, I have M, and we're going to call this reel 1 start. We're going to go back 2 seconds so that we can have a 2 pop, so that we have a sync reference where the 2 pop should go. And that's here. And that 2 pop, like I said, is not in the video. It's going to be in the audio. At pop. It's like a new techno musical thing. So we're going to go to my notes, and on my notes I can see I've already written this from the reel sessions that I had before. I know that reel 1 starts at 1 hour. I know that the reel 1 files are going to start at 10 seconds earlier. I know that reel 2 is going to start on the cut to the corridor, which I don't have as empty, but I do know the cut point. And then I know that the files are going to start at 1 hour, 6 minutes, 14 seconds, and 16 frames. So we're going to now create the tracks that we need to do, and possibly a bus. In fact, definitely a bus. So here's how we want to create our tracks. We have stems in this case that are dialogue, sound effects, and music for, in this case, 2 reels. And you can do it on 2 reels. You can do it in all 6 or 7 of your reels, however many reels you have. So we're going to go multi-track tracks, add 5-1 audio track. And we're going to do this 3 times for dialogue, sound effects, and music. We're going to call this DX, SFX, MX, and then we're going to add a 5-1 bus track, and we're going to call this our 5-1 master. Also, you know what else we need? We have a mix in here, so we need to add one more. This is the 5-1 mix. Bring this up to the top. We're going to call this the mix, and then we're going to go down to the bus track that we created, and we're going to call this the 5.1 print master. Master. We're going to go to the mixer, and now here's all our happy tracks, and you know that they are 5-1 because, again, they've got this cool 6-channel thing, and I can see already that I've made a little bit of a mess here because this is a stereo track for the mix, so we want to not have that. The mix is going to come in at 5.1, boo, hiss, so we're going to do this. We're going to get rid of that multi-track, tracks, 5.1 audio track. This is the mix. Yay for catching mistakes. Okay, now for routing purposes, we don't want this to go to the master. We want all of these to go to our 5.1 print master because that gives us more control. And so what we'll do is we'll go take the output and go bus 5.1 print master, 5.1 print master, 5.1 print master, and 5.1 print master. This is going to be what we're listening to. Then the print master is going to go to our master output. On the print master itself, we're going to want to add a little limiter just so that we are sure that we never are going to go over 0. Well, that's an interesting setting. And let's see, maximum amplitude, as you know, if you've watched any of these Cinema Sound videos, is minus 0.2. We want peak. We don't want to link controls. This is the setting that we like. We're also going to copy this to each one of these buses, because as you're doing crossfades, there's a chance you might go over 0, and then you've got that phone call from quality control. I'm holding down Alt or Option and dragging to make this happen. And now I've got limiters on all my channels. And so there ain't no way I'm going over 0. And you're like, well, if these have limiters, why would this go over 0? Well, just better safe than sorry, yeah? Cool. Now we're going to go back here, and we're going to bring in our files, and we're going to hold down Shift, and that allows us to shrink all of these to the screen. Cool. We're going to go to the Finder, and here are our files here. We're going to take, let's see, the Real 1 5.1 bus, the DX, the MX, and the SFX. They're sort of out of order. I'm going to bring them in here. You can see what's happening is, well, maybe you can't, but it's actually making them go all in one track. But if I hold down Alt or Option and bring it here, you can see it spreads them out all the way across. So without Alt, it puts them all into a line. You can see across the top of the screen up there. I can't do it while I'm holding it. It makes a big long session. Or if I hold down Alt, it drops them all in the appropriate way. This is the 5.1 bus. That's mix. This is dialogue. Okay, these two are kind of backwards. We'll just fix that immediately here. MX goes there and sound effects goes there. We want to make sure that these two pops line up. And we said, as I said in my notes, I know that the files, I already recorded this, start at 595000. That's the beginning of our session, 595000. So let's go to the two pop here, which is 2 seconds before. Let's see how we did. Are we in sync? Yes, we are. We're dead in sync, which means that if we play this all together, I'm going to mute the mix so we can hear just the stems. See how this goes. Boom. Perfectly in sync. We love it. All right. So this is the easy part. Now the hard part is, how do we merge the reels together? How do we do that? We already know that Reel 2 starts on the cut to the corridor, which is this shot right here. And we've marked Reel 2, no sweat. And then we know already from our previous session, the actual reel session, that the files need to go at 1 hour, 6, 14, 16. So we're going to go here. We've got these selected. Drag them in, hold down Option. We're going to drop them. Cool. And then we're going to drag these over, and they should. Oh, actually, you know what we need to do first is put the cursor in the right place. What was it again? It is 6, 14, 16. Oh, 1, 6, 14, 16. Now I want to drop these files here, and it should snap them pretty close. Sort of. Where's that blue line? There it is. Let's just double check, because even a 1 frame off would make a big difference for us. Yeah, see, even that, a micro frame off isn't good. We want to put that right up against them. And sometimes if the files have been dropped in an inappropriate place, you have to turn off the snapping rather, not put the magnet, and so that you can drop it right in. Now we're really far zoomed. I mean, like to the waveforms, as you can see. So we're pretty close. So we're going to come back out and check out these crossfades that were made that we don't really need. So now that we have these popped in, let's see how it sounds. all kinds of weird stuff because the reel's coming in, there's its own 2-pop and all those other kinds of things. We don't want anything to do with that. So let's just bring this, we don't want to slide, but take the inbound region and we're going to move it over to here. So now at least it starts at reel 2.
Report any Starblade pilot's medical who shows symptoms.
And the crossfades do a good job of mashing between it. But we want to do more than just drop the reel on reel 2 because there's music that's tailing out here. Where is it? Up here. Oh, we need to put this back in place because these are out of order here. Let's just do this. I'm going to hold down Shift, drag this so it doesn't move, Shift, drag it so it doesn't move, and Shift, drag it so it doesn't move. There we go. And the crossfades are fine, but here this music is tailing into this. So now that everything's in sync, and by the way, once you know you have it in sync, you want to do this, right click, and do lock in time. The little locks show up, which means now we can't move this anywhere, which is super nice. We want to then, I think, allow reel 1's music to tail out on its own, because we recorded it long enough here, and then maybe a little crossfade.
Report any Starblade pilot's medical who shows symptoms of the band.
Right? So now it's moving on its own.
Report any Starblade pilot's medical who shows symptoms.
Cool. And then we want to definitely cut closer on this cut because on the rest of it, there's a little bit of dialogue that's ahead of it.
Report any Starblade.
So we want to get that in on the incoming reel. There's no dialogue beforehand because it's a bumper. So what we need to do is go here, take this crossfade, move it over like this. And again, because we recorded 2 seconds ahead of time, ahead of the reel break, we've got a little space to be able to bring that in. And we're going to move this crossfade over. So now we're deep into reel 2 before her first line shows up. And then let's take a look at the sound effects. Let's see what's happening here. So there's, again, no sound effects on the prior reel. It's a hard hit and a weird crossfade, so we don't want that. Let's just bring this over slightly because there's no reason to not start it earlier. There's no sound effects before. And we're going to just do a very slight crossfade just to make sure we don't have any bumps. Perfectly done. All together now.
Report any Starblade pilot and medical who shows symptoms of the band.
Perfectly done. So as you can see, just hard cutting through reels isn't necessarily the best option, especially if you have stuff tailing from one reel to the next. It's important to be able to make good choices when cutting between reels so you're not just hard cutting and creating more problems. Even on a hard cut like this, we want to be able to tail one element into another. And if you had music that was cutting between, that was going between scenes, then you might want to do a crossfade or know that when you're doing your output burn, that you're going to burn the music and everybody else extra long so that that music can tail into the new scene as far as possible. Hopefully this video has been very helpful to you. If it has, please subscribe. And I invite you to come visit us at cinemasound.com. Until then, we'll see you in post.
Even if it's where you're stuck.